Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. My name is the Kiwi Dragon, and if you've been keeping up with recent news, it's been a pretty big couple of weeks or so for Crash Bandicoot news, especially when it concerns maps and characters involved in Crash Team Rumble, as well as the future of not just Crash Bandicoot, but also Spyro the Dragon as well, potentially. I thought, why not do a video talking about all of this in one big package, especially as I've been a bit busy these past few weeks to make videos on them individually as they came out. So in this video, we'll dive into the recent reveals and hints coming from Toys for Bob's recent developer Q&A session. But before we do, I'd just like to ask if you could subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. We recently hit 2,000 followers and are on the way to 2,500, with our next big goal being 3,000 subscribers. So if you could help us out on our journey down the road to 3,000, that'd be massively appreciated.
Hello again, folks, it's Kiwi from the future here, and somewhat hilariously, after I finished recording the audio for this video last night, we had a new trading card vignette for Dr. Neo Cortex, which subtly confirmed a 9th character who will be playable possibly at launch, and that character is Engine. There's not many other details at this stage, but from the footage that we saw, it's confirmed that Engine will be a booster. Personally, I'm glad we haven't confirmed as a playable character. Hopefully, he will be also confirmed as a playable character on the base roster. I do think it was inevitable that obviously he was going to be revealed in some fashion or another pretty soon rather than later. But yeah, I just thought maybe I'd slot this in very quickly before the main portion of the video. So let's get back to the topic at hand.
So with that out of the way, let's start with the recent reveal of the Sanity Caverns map. So we got a trailer for the new map a few days ago, as well as a blog post on Toys for Bob's website which reads, "Now that the closed beta has concluded and we are nearing the launch of the insanely fun Crash Team Rumble, we are incredibly excited to give you a deeper dive into some of the content available at launch. Players who got a chance to rumble during our closed beta will know that every map has unique relic stations that drastically change the way you approach a match. We'll be giving you a deep look at the new maps available at launch, along with some tips on how to best utilize the relic stations to your advantage. It's time to return to the mysterious caves of Sanity Peak. Sanity Caverns is the most dangerous map we revealed to date, which includes secrets to uncover and tricky ways to outsmart and outplay your opponents. You might even recognize a familiar mask that can lend a hand to your team in the heat of battle. The action takes place inside a wide open cavern, giving clear lines of sight across the entire map. Both teams will want to take note of the cluster of gem pads floating high up near the center of the cavern. Not only does controlling this area of the map boost your team's score, but it's an excellent vantage point to launch an offensive on unsuspecting enemies down below. Players can climb their way up to access these valuable gems, but wind geysers on the ground level provide a much quicker route to the action. These gems are hotly contested in every match, but are also placed on small and narrow platforms, making it a tricky area to fight in without falling off. Try and knock your opponents away to buy enough time to capture the boost for your team. Nearby, you'll find the relic station for this map. It's the return of Lani Loli. In Crash Team Rumble, the Quantum Masks return to provide valuable buffs to your team. Simply deliver enough relics, and Lani Loli will grant you and any teammates who walk over the relic station temporary invisibility. This provides a serious tactical advantage, letting you sneak up and get the drop on your opponents before they even know what hit them. Attacking the enemy or using your hero's abilities will break the invisibility, letting the enemy know your position. Strategy is key here when deciding when to launch your attack. Finally, there's the epic relic station, the dreaded Spirit Guardians. Activating this relic station instantly transforms your entire team into massive Spirit Guardian versions of themselves. The enemy will be on the run as your health, size, and knockback resistance are all boosted in this form. Use it to turn the tables on your opponents or secure a huge lead while the buff is active. The buff even applies to your hero's abilities as well. For example, Coco's Quantum Wall becomes supersized, letting her block off an even bigger area. Thought Cortex's piano drop was scary before? Well, just you wait until you see it when he's a Spirit Guardian. You can even combine the Relic Station abilities together, becoming a terrifying, invisible Spirit Guardian. We can't wait to see how players use these abilities together to create fun, sneaky, and clever strategies to get the W over their opponents. Between heroes, powers, and relic stations available, there's so much room for crafting your own unique approach when the game launches on June 20th. We look forward to seeing how crafty and strategic you get utilizing those relic powers. And of course, finally, expect more map reveals and deep dives in the near future. So first of all, this is looking to be the biggest map revealed so far. We sort of caught a glimpse of it in one of the Crash Team Rumble trailers, but it was very much a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. Sanity Peak isn't one of the areas I personally would have thought of for an arena, but hey, it makes a lot of sense actually when you think about it. If you've played Crash 4, you'll know how expansive the caves were, which lends nicely to this big map, and of course, as it's at the top of a mountain, you can expect a high level of verticality. So this map is not going to be very friendly for Dingo Doll users. I love the Relic Station and Epic Relic Station choices here as well. If you've played Crash 4, then you'll know that this is the first place that we meet Lani Lowly, and not long after meeting him, we're chased by the Sanity Peak Spirit Guardian. So these two choices are excellent. Using Lani Lowly to phase out of reality and go invisible, and the Spirit Guardian to increase in size as well as buff your health and knockback sounds like a really fun time. And I'm guessing being a Spirit Guardian could also potentially increase the damage you deal based on what was said about Cortex's piano drop. But the most interesting and perhaps terrifying thing to me is that you can combine the Spirit Guardian size with Lani Lowly's invisibility to create invisible Spirit Guardians, which just sounds broken when I say it. All in all, Insanity Caverns sounds like a really fun map. Do you guys think it might be your new favorite map? I'm still pretty fond of Tiki Towers myself, but Insanity Caves could edge it out from the top spot. What I'm also interested to know about is the additional maps that will be available at launch. Supposedly, there's going to be more map reveals coming in the near future, so with Crash Team Rumble launching on June 20th, I'd expect maybe 2 more maps to be unveiled before then. If I were to guess, I would say that those maps would be based on the nitro processing level and the snacks dimension, both from Crash 4. As if you remember the Crash Team Rumble reveal at last year's Game Awards, when Crash calls up Cortex, Tawna, and Dingo Doll on stage, you can see that they're all in various locations in the profile pictures they have. Tawna is in the hazardous wastes dimension, with that world already being represented in Crash Team Rumble by Calamity Canyon. However, at this stage, neither the nitro processing nor the snacks dimension have a corresponding level in Crash Team Rumble, but he is hoping it's only a matter of time before they're revealed. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please feel free to hit that like button. It helps boost the video in the YouTube algorithm so that other Crash fans like you can see my videos as well. Anyway, back to the video. Let's move on now to the Toys for Bob developer Q&A, which was posted on both Toys for Bob's website and the Crash Team Rumble Discord. So we'll run through each question, and if I have something to add or address, then I'll do so after each one. We open with an introduction which reads like this. Hey Crash Team Rumble fans, we're excited to bring you our latest blog post where we've compiled a list of fan-submitted questions about the beta version of the game that took place on April 20th, 2023. Since the beta release, we've received an overwhelming response from players eager to know more about the game's features, mechanics, and what they can expect from the final version when it launches on June 20th. In this Q&A style post, we'll be answering some of the most frequently answered questions straight from the community. So sit back, grab a Wumpa-flavored drink, and get ready to learn more about the highly anticipated game, Crash Team Rumble. From there, we start off with the first topic, the beta itself, with the first question being...
When the game is fully released, what can we expect from the limited time modes? During the course of our seasons, which last roughly 3 months at a time, you can expect that the game will have a robust schedule of events in limited time modes. We'll have more to share on this soon.
So first of all, glad we'd have the confirmation that the seasons will be about 3 months long. I believe I was one of the first, if not the first, to notice this from some additional notes when I saw that the pre-orders had gone live for the physical deluxe edition of Crash Team Rumble on the EB Games New Zealand and Mighty Ape New Zealand website. I know some people have said that they're on board with the idea that seasons are approximately 3 months, in contrast to nitro-fueled's much shorter 1-month seasons. On the other hand, I've also seen people say that 3 months is too long, so we'll have to wait and see how Crash Team Rumble seasons actually fare. Additionally, it should come as some reassurance that there will be a robust schedule of events and limited time modes, especially for those who had concerns about Crash Team Rumble only having one game mode that we'd have to play over and over and over again.
What are the first aspects from the beta that you're looking at to be immediately tweaked for the full game? That's exactly right. We're collecting data to help us tune for a smoother launch and prioritise changes for the mid-season update in Season 2. We're paying close attention to hero and power usage / balance / win rates, player progression, actuals versus estimates, and matchmaking conditions and unexpected issues.
It's good to see that Toys for Bob aren't above making changes not just season to season, but also mid-season as well, especially when it comes to in-game balancing, so kudos Toys for Bob.
From the data so far, what is the most interesting thing you have found during the beta? There are over 2 times as many PS5 players than PS4. A lot of people use the term actually to describe their experience. The game's actually really fun. A lot of people played over 100 matches, and some people played over 30 hours.
So this is really fascinating. The claim that there are more than twice as many players on PS5 than PS4 took me by surprise actually, as I would never have guessed that to be the case. Though in saying that, I suppose we're almost 3 years removed from the launch of the PS5, so that does actually kind of make sense. In terms of the term actually being used to describe the game, I can certainly feel that one. Especially as if you saw my previous Crash Team Rumble video where I mentioned I didn't vibe with the game initially, but actually came around to it on the second day playing the game. In terms of playtime, some players reaching 100 matches and 30 hours of playtime just shows how dedicated the fans already are. And that's just for the beta. I think maybe I played about 50 matches myself, played for about 20 to 25 hours, but those figures from Toys for Bob are some phenomenal numbers.
How'd you make the game so fun? We started with a unique and intriguing question. What does a competitive multiplayer Crash platformer look like? Then our team of incredibly talented, intelligent, kind human beings tried many ideas and iterated on the game for years, until we were ready to share it with the rest of the world.
No kidding on the years bit. We know that these games can take time to develop after all, with this game being in development since at least 2020, but more likely 2019. We've known of the game's existence at least since as far back as, 2021? But it's nice to see that they took their time to craft something that's so fun to play.
Does the game have a story that explains why everyone is collecting Wumpa fruits in teams? The Great Wumpa games originally come from humble beginnings, springing forth as an offshoot activity tied to the Wumpa Island's annual Wumpa harvest. Inhabitants from the various islands would form teams and compare how many Wumpa could be gathered on a given day. What initially started as a light diversion has now grown into a cutthroat competition filled with the fiercest competitors any dimension has ever seen. This annual competition is such a monumental event that onlookers will even witness hated rivals banding together to become the Crash Team Rumble champions.
Now, I'll be honest, as interesting an explanation as this is, I kind of preferred the idea which was suggested in one of the loading screens from the Crash Team Rumble beta, which inferred that Crash Team Rumble is an in-universe video game which Crash, Coco and Tawna were all playing at the end of Crash 4, but at the same time, hey, any lore is good with me. Next up, we move on to the Heroes category.
Will you be maybe adding any new characters later on down the road? Not maybe, most certainly, and on the regular basis. Will there be more characters from the original Crash Bandicoot trilogy? I would really love to see characters like Tiny Tiger, Ripperoo, Pinstripe and the Komodo Bros again. We're so thrilled to see the excitement for new characters. We most certainly have new heroes actively in the works for future seasons. And yes, we are very open to suggestions on who else to queue up for down the road. One thing to note is that we intend on growing the cast thoughtfully and gradually. Each hero in Crash Team Rumble is more than just an avatar. They are completely unique in their movement and combat abilities, and it takes a lot of iteration and tuning to make sure they mechanically contribute to the game's meta in fresh but balanced ways. We're not going to rush out the heroes that aren't ready in favour of trying to hit a huge cast of favourites and fresh faces. We're looking forward to being thoughtful how we grow the cast together with you.
So it seems Toys for Bob are promising more characters and are very keen to hear suggestions for characters to include in future updates. I may have to make my own video with some other character suggestions. Additionally, I want to applaud them for telling us now that they want to take the time in adding characters. Unlike Crash Team Racing nitro-fueled, you can't just send out a batch of 3 to 5 characters each month because, unlike nitro-fueled where it was just characters in carts which were essentially avatars, you have to plan out movesets and make sure it's all still balanced within the existing characters that are in the game at that stage.
Do you think you can add characters, stages and music from all Crash games and not only the PS1 era? Maybe. Possibly influenced by unlikely.
So this question and answer feels like it's entirely up to interpretation, but here's how I see it. In terms of characters, I think we're safe, especially as nitro-fueled showed how willing Beanox were not to leave any stone unturned with characters from all eras of Crash Bandicoot, but sadly just stopped short of a perfect roster. So I think characters in Crash Team Rumble are fine. Stages and music are where I'm a little less sure. Part of me is not actually sure about who owns what when it comes to locations and music from previous games, but I'd like to think maybe if Activision does own all of it, then it could all be on the table. Again, I plan to make a video about maps and music I'd like to see in Crash Team Rumble, so stay tuned for that as well.
Will there be crossovers with other franchises like Spyro? Intriguing suggestion.
I think Spyro characters are a bit of a foregone conclusion at this point, as we've already seen the hints suggesting Spyro and Ripto will be coming to the game. One outside crossover though that I'd like to see and think could be pretty cool would be KO the Kangaroo. The Twitter account has been tirelessly campaigning to get KO's foot in the door, so to speak, but the question ultimately boils down to, will it happen? We'll have to wait and see.
Will Freight Crash have his iconic green pants back if he returns? Does he wear green or blue pants? Community, this needs to be settled.
You know what? I've grown up on both iterations of Fake Crash, the one in blue pants and the one in green. So do me a favour, drop a comment down below and tell me, would you prefer Fake Crash in green pants or blue pants? I like both personally, but if I had to choose one, I'd go for the green.
Have you all thought about adding characters from Microsoft IPs in the form of DLC? We'd love to. Phil, what do you think?
Now, this one is interesting because it can open the floodgates for a few Microsoft-owned characters to jump over to Crash Team Rumble. I'm thinking Banjo-Kazooie, Conker, Blinks the Time Sweeper, or Raz from Psychonauts. The possibilities are endless on that front. Unfortunately, coming back to reality, the only hindrance to this is that the Activision acquisition attempt by Microsoft did not go through, unfortunately due to concerns from the CMA, or the Competition and Markets Authority as it's known, who blocked the acquisition. Even if it's appealed and overturned, there's still the FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission as it's known, to get past as well. So I'm not saying it won't happen, but it feels incredibly unlikely at this stage that any Microsoft characters would appear in Crash Team Rumble. Even if they did, would they just be Xbox exclusives? There's a lot to sort out there.
Can you make Crash Bandicoot's air dash more useful and more stylish like Coco's air dash? Will you add other abilities for heroes in the future? We're pretty satisfied with the number of abilities in a hero's kit, but we're going to be continually studying the play data and will routinely patch adjustments for balance. Stay tuned.
Again, it's nice to see Toys for Bob reassuring people that they intend to keep track of things going on in the game. Not much more I can say about that except that yes, Coco's air spiral is pretty stylish. It's part of the reason I play as her.
Will character voices be added? It would be nice to hear characters have a few different lines they say, like in the racing games. Really early on we tried adding voice lines and it turns out, without an enormous volume of variable lines, it got pretty annoying quickly. With how much is going on in a match, we opted to clear out unnecessary chatter on the comms.
That honestly makes sense. If you watched my video talking about my Crash Team Rumble beta experience, you'll know it was hard enough on matchmaking to get my random teammates to respond to pings as they were already so distracted themselves, so any voice lines would only be a further hindrance. And in playing a voice chat with friends, you're unlikely to pay attention to voice lines either. So at the end of the day, I get it. I like voice lines, and it's a shame not to have them, but at the same time, I can see it being somewhat of a good move.
What does it mean when there are stars over your hero's head? You are immune to stun during this time. Is there a way to charge your power meter faster? Yes, if you play to your role, it will accelerate your power's charge, i.e. score as a scorer or deny Wumpa as a blocker. How did the character Catbat come to be? Stay tuned!
Interesting. I wonder why all the secrecy with Catbat. I hope it's not just going to end up being some basic explanation that we got for Rillaroo from the Crash Bash manual.
What's the Retro Threads Tawna skin going to look like? Stay tuned!
Well, with the power of posting this video kinda late, we now know what Retro Threads Tawna is. And as I predicted in my last video and on Twitter, it's Alt Tawna dressed as OG Tawna. In saying that, fellow YouTuber Mihara the Fox actually had a really interesting theory on Twitter that this is maybe what Tawna could have looked like before her Crash and Coco died in her universe. And of course, this was only then later confirmed by Paul Yan of all people to more or less be the case. Question is, does this mean actual OG Tawna as a playable character is now off the table? We'll have to wait and see.
Once the full game releases, will level 6 still be the max level for characters? Will it still be as quick to level them up to the max level? At launch, heroes will be able to level up to 15 and have 2 additional challenges.
I felt that 6 levels was surprisingly quick in the beta, so 15 in the full game is a welcome addition as far as I'm concerned. From here, the post talks about features.
Why is an Activision account required for Crash Team Rumble? 2 big advantages, crossplay and cross-progression.
Makes sense to me.
Will there be any additional match types, and can you tell us anything about them? Most certainly, stay tuned for season updates.
Yay! More variety. So again, to the naysayers saying it's only going to be one game mode, no it isn't! I might have to come up with some suggestions for match types.
When will you add game modes? For example, will there be a mode to extend the game by double the score limit? Sounds like an interesting experiment. How are you all feeling about the average match length so far?
A mode with double the score limit sounds like a lot of fun and was something I actually suggested on the Crash Team Rumble Discord. I think I called it hardcore mode of all things. I'd love to try it, but I feel like the length of regular matches is also just fine.
Will you be implementing offline functions like a local multiplayer mode? At its core, the game is specifically designed for online multiplayer, and that's where our focus is at the moment. It's an interesting suggestion though. Will there be a single player or adventure mode for the game? We intend on adding different types of modes in future seasons, and PvE is certainly something that interests us as a potential experience down the road. For launch, our focus is squarely on this brand new team versus team experience, and want to make sure that it is the best it can be before expanding into other varieties.
If you saw my previous Crash Team Rumble videos, you already know how strongly I feel about offline modes, so hearing that they aren't a primary focus at this stage is disappointing, but I can appreciate Toys for Bob putting so much focus into the main part of the game to make sure it all functions normally.
Can you tell us about the trophies and achievements the game will have, and how hard it will they be to complete? Yes, it won't be as difficult as Crash 4 if that's what you're getting at.
Yes! Love some trophies, so here's hoping they're as achievable as the CTR nitro-fueled ones, because I loved collecting them because they were kind of ridiculously easy.
Will a spectator mode be added? Not in current plans, no.
Ow. Okay, yeah, that one kinda sucks to be honest, especially as this game has the potential to grow as a possible esport. It makes watching competitive matches so much easier when you have a spectator mode, but it also allows others at home to practice their match commentary should they be interested in actually doing commentary at competitive events. I really hope Toys for Bob change their minds on this one later on down the road.
Will I need subscriptions like PS Plus or Xbox Live Gold to play online? Yes, you will. Any plans on releasing the game on PC? No announcements at this time. Crash Team Rumble will launch June 20th on PlayStation and Xbox consoles.
Yeah, that sucks for PC users pretty big, especially as they got shafted by not getting a release of CTR nitro-fueled on PC, and let's not forget the Switch users have also been excluded from this one as well, which, I say the words, it sucks, but it really does. I've said it a lot, but it truly sucks. I'm hoping it's not a permanent thing, but I'm not sure I can really put my eggs in that basket.
Will we be able to use the D-pad to move in the future? At the moment, the D-pad is reserved for emotes. We've seen lots of suggestions to extend support for more emotes there.
Makes sense, I guess, though I never really saw many people using emotes in the beta. I wonder if they could maybe be remapped to a different button though.
We already know about the battle pass and character level and challenge systems, but will there be other ways to obtain cosmetics? It's conceivable there might be a store down the road, but it's not currently a priority for us. Our focus right now is making rewards earnable by playing.
On one hand, a store not being a priority is great. The pit stop in nitro-fueled was fine, if a bit annoying for limiting which items you could purchase on a specific day. At the same time, what if you miss out on seasonal cosmetics? If there's no store to buy them in, are you just out of luck? Or is there going to be ways that you could earn them post-season? In saying that, I appreciate that Toys for Bob's priority is making rewards earnable through play though, so great move, guys.
Can you add Toxic Waste as a victory soundtrack? Do we have the license for that? Checking. We do. Alright, let's do it.
Yes! Pretty sure is one of the people on the Crash Team Rumble Discord who made a note of requesting this epic track from the first Crash game as a victory theme. Can't wait to use it as it's one of my favourites.
Will the game be supported a year after its release? We intend to support this game well after launch for as long as we can. We're suited up for a marathon.
Sounds good to me. Here's hoping Crash Team Rumble will be around for a while yet.
Will there be an option to modify commands on a single character instead of all of them? Good suggestion, we'll evaluate this for future releases.
Not sure what this means. Does this relate to remapping controls in any way? If so, that sounds great, especially as during the beta I had to remap to play as Cortex in particular, especially as I've been playing other remap settings for Crash, Coco, Tawna and Dingo Doll.
Will it be possible to automatically disconnect inactive players? Yes, we also saw idle players holding up some lobbies in the beta and are developing ways to combat this.
Thank you! Oh man, the idle players were one of the biggest things that irritated me during the beta, so hearing that this is being worked on is just grand. I hope you guys could also maybe implement the ability to join mid-match, sort of similar to Call of Duty, say if a player does leave to try and rebalance the teams. Who knows, fingers crossed? Next on the agenda is customization.
Can we get Crash crashing through the window as an emote, please? Lawyers are looking into it.
Hey, I recognise that question. Shout out to fellow YouTuber the mad lad Dave Ace, who has been very keen to see an emote of Crash crashing through a window. Fingers crossed it gets brought to life for you, mate.
Will you make a change to have the unlockable music playable in different parts of the game? Good thought. We'll think on this.
Please make it happen, TFB. I want to use the menus like my own personal Crash Bandicoot jukebox, playing the most banging tunes before gearing up for war with my friends. From here, we're on to the subject of progression.
Will our progress from the beta transfer over to the full game when it releases? No. One big reason for the beta is to understand real-world progression rates so we can tune it for the launch game. The reward schedule may differ in subtle ways for the final game also.
I thought everyone knew the beta progression wouldn't transfer over, but maybe not. And at the same time, I'm glad it doesn't, because those of us who got to play the beta would essentially have an unfair advantage on those who didn't play it, so I'm okay with that.
We know the game has cross-play, but will it have cross-progression? For example, can we carry our progression and unlocks from platform to platform? Yes!
Good news! Glad to hear it, especially if PC and Switch releases ever actually come to pass.
How much will it cost for each premium battle pass? We'll have more details to share as we approach Season 2, but it'll very likely be within industry standards.
Anyone know how much industry standard is? I haven't got a clue. Here's hoping it's cheap and we can use each pass to unlock future passes as well, sort of similarly to how Fall Guys and the Showbucks system works. Because with Fall Guys, I haven't paid for a pass from them for God knows how long. Gotta love Showbucks, man. And finally, the last few questions in the other section.
Could you make one of the fun facts say there's not going to be a new Skylanders game? No.
Wow, that is one toxic sounding question. I am no Skylanders fan, but even I wouldn't want that kind of soul-crushing statement as a loading screen fun fact. Glad Toys for Bob shut that idea down pretty fast.
Thanks, TFB. We're so excited for Crash 5 and Spyro 4. I see what you did there.
Crash Bandicoot 5 and Spyro 4 confirmed? Alright, maybe not confirmed, but still the fact that Toys for Bob specifically chose to answer this question, I know someone watching will go, it means nothing. If it means nothing, why bring it up in the first place? To me, it sounds like there could be something interesting going on behind the scenes at Toys for Bob Studios and potentially also at Beanox as well, maybe? After all, we know that these games have been planned years in advance, so I kinda think that there's something going on if they're that willing to answer a question about Crash 5 and Spyro 4.
I just want to ask, how are you, Crash? Crash says, I just got uppercutted by Tawna and had a very large gas moxian come crashing down on my head, so couldn't be better. Let's rumble again.
Kudos for asking that question. So often we ask, where's Crash? But never do we stop and ask, how is Crash? Turns out he's a bit bruised and beaten, but fine nonetheless. We'd love to rumble with you again, Crash, but we can't right now. Soon though, our time will come again. And then the Q&A ends with the release date of June 20th, 2023 and the consoles that the game will be available on. All in all, we learned a lot about the game these past few weeks, not just from this Q&A, but also in the past few days with the Retro Threads Tawna skin and the Insanity Caverns map reveals.
But what do you guys think of this information? Did you learn anything new from the Q&A? Do you have any thoughts on the Retro Threads Tawna skin and the Insanity Caverns map reveals? And what do you think of the engine tease leak sort of hint thing? I don't know what to call it. And also, do you think that the Crash 5 and Spyro 4 mentions are hinting that those games are in development either at Toys for Bob or Beanox or maybe another studio entirely? Drop me a comment down below with your thoughts and I will do my best to respond to as many of you as I possibly can. And don't forget to like the video, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified about future videos.
You can also share the video with your friends and family or anyone who is a Crash Bandicoot fan. And if you have a Twitter account, head on over there and follow me at the Kiwi Dragon. At the moment, I'm currently running a daily Spyro the Dragon game eliminator style tournament where we're currently trying to determine what the greatest Spyro the Dragon game is. We're currently on round 14 with only a few games left, so if you want to head on over there and cast your votes, you might just save your favorites from elimination. Just before I go, I'd like to say thank you for over 2,000 subscribers. I haven't exactly celebrated it as such because unfortunately I've been so busy interviewing for a new job, taking my PC apart and trying to get it working again because unfortunately it's in dire need of upgrades. But I've also been taking part in a sort of speed running competition over on the Square to Charge YouTube channel as part of their 1999 championship featuring games that, you guessed it, are only from 1999. Featuring the likes of Crash Team Racing, Spyro 2, Ape Escape, Toy Story 2, Bugs Bunny Lost in Time, Pokemon Yellow, and even more obscure and bizarre games like Kingsley's Adventure, Pepsi Man, and also Elmo's Letter Adventure and Elmo's Number Journey. What? Feel free to go and check out that channel after this video to see some of my races, and you may even spot fellow YouTuber Crystal Fisher doing some races over there as well. But anyway, I've been the Kiwi Dragon. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have yourselves a fantastic day, and I'll see you all later. Bye!